Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Chilling Neigh Podcast, your premier VGC podcast. My name is Rashil, aka Konkledonk VGC, and I'm joined by Savai and Tommy. What is up,
I
guys?
don't know. Watching Tommy do a little dance every time you do an intro is making me laugh a little bit too much, but not too much. Hopefully everybody's doing well today, and we're here to game. Not really, but we're here to game.
I gotta shoot the finger guns. I gotta shoot the finger guns. I gotta give the people a little finger guns. We appreciate your support. We want to make you feel included. I'm pointing at you, the audience. Thank you. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Before we get into all the VGC stuff, I gotta say this. I gotta shout out. We got some people thriving on the Chilling Neigh Podcast right now. Especially check out Say Why VGC streams, please. He is
Yes.
making
He's
a
lying.
push for partner, and he is
Lying.
crushing it. So
Lying.
everyone check out his streams, some of the best streams, one of the
Yep.
best streams out there for sure. So definitely want to give that a shout out before we
Thank you,
dive on
thank you.
into it.
We need more
Um,
VGC partners, so please support all streamers making a partner push if you know they're making it.
But what if?
Yes,
What? Why?
absolutely.
Wait, hold up. This guy's like, oh, check out his stream, but he's coming off a top 32 performance at Knoxville Regionals and just says nothing. He's just like so casual. Oh, check out this, check out that. Nah. This guy's coming off top 32.
Thank you, appreciate it. Yeah, I'm
You
I'm pretty
crushed it.
happy about it. So
Yeah.
let's dive on into
Let's
Knoxville.
do it.
That just happened this weekend. So first of all, congrats to Toller Webb on his second
Yeah.
regional win. We had a really cool battle between senior world champions, or previous former senior world champions in finals. Toller versus James Evans. Really cool to see. Um, so huge congrats to Toller on the victory. Want to just dive on into it because I think like the whole storyline of Regulation F has been this meta pressure cooker and like it changing week to week, and I think we saw that again in Knoxville and in the results.
Yeah.
And as Ryan said, I was lucky enough to make day two and play and see a lot of those different teams. So was very interesting, but curious on what your guys' perspectives are on kind of the outside view from what you saw from the top teams.
Yeah, I'm gonna jump in here. My main thing is that Ogre Pond Water is all of a sudden the best mod in the format. Now, I
Yeah.
saw this after, was it Portland was the first regulation F tour? Was it Portland?
Yep.
I saw this after
Yep.
Portland, and you saw a lot of it as well. Like we saw a bunch of Ogre Pond Water in the top at the top, but I think now we're finally seeing just how good this Pokemon is. I think it was what 66% in day two, taking over the top spot from Fluttermane, which is absolutely
Yeah.
disgusting. It was on 6 out of the top 8 teams. It's
Yeah.
it is a Pokemon that does it all, and I said this in my recap video yesterday about the event, but it does it all. It can be offense, it can be defense, it can get a special defense boost if it feels fit. It can go neutral offense with like a Horn Leech, or it can go big offense with a Wood Hammer or a Power Whip. You get health back with
Yeah.
with Horn Leech if you want, and you also
Preach.
get access to Follow Me. So what more do you want a Pokemon to do?
Sword stance.
It can get that
It's
too.
insane. It is insane. Like the fact that you can you can just follow me away spores from Amoonguss, right?
Yep.
One of the historically best Pokemon in the game. You can follow me away Surging Strikes from Urshifu Rapid Strike.
Heal
And
yourself because
that's
of it.
that's been so strong that the fact that we saw Urshifu Rapid Strike fall from the top 12 completely in
Mhm.
day two. They were
Crazy.
that wasn't even didn't even make the list. So like the fact
That
that
wasn't on my
Ogerpon is
bingo
just
card.
everywhere is so
Yeah.
hard for Ogerpon for Urshifu Rapid Strike. Just an insane mon, and then the healing. I mean, it's so good into each other, like
Yep.
into opposing Ogerpon. So it's a
Did-
ridiculous
Did
mon.
did I forget to mention that its signature move also has a high chance to crit? Did I mention that too? I'm just saying.
Oh my god, it is so busted, and I mean like the fact that it overtook Fluttermane, which has
Mhm.
been like the dominant mon since
Yeah.
it has come out in Scarlet Violet, that is like pretty nuts. And I think like they just pair so well together as well.
Mhm.
Like just the Ogerpon Flutter combo, we
Mhm.
see it on so many of these top teams. Say like six out of the eight or something like that. Yes.
Yeah.
The top eight, like just absurdly good. So like this pairing is not going anywhere
Nope.
anytime soon.
Just
What stood out to
go ahead,
me,
Tom. Go ahead, Tom.
sorry to interrupt.
No, you go for
You
it.
guys keep saying 6 of the top 8. It's on 6 of the top 6 the way the standings
Yes.
shook out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
That made me laugh.
it does it all. It does it all. I don't remember what I was gonna say. I had something to say. I don't remember for the life of me what it was gonna be. So we're just gonna leave it. I'm sure it'll come up at some point.
No, this mon's the real deal though. And I think what happened in the beginning of the format was that Torn Urshifu was just such a staple, and playing VGC on quote unquote easy mode, that people weren't exploring with Water Pond at first until they started getting like, oh, this mon actually can do a lot more than I expected it to. And it's way more slappable than I expected it to be. And that's when we see the Ogre Pond kind of take over now. And I'm curious to see what the next mon to take over is, because we've been seeing a lot of Raging Bolts.
Mm-hmm.
And the Assault Vest Raging Bolt especially is like really freaking cool right now. But like it's really interesting to see how the meta is going to develop now, because it's going to be to counter the AV Raging Bolt, to counter the Ogre Pond Water, to counter the, like, of course, Flutter like it always has. But I think this mod taking over Flutter is a good thing, because it'll kind of centralize the meta a little bit. Am I crazy? Am I crazy for saying that? It'll centralize it for a little bit? Or no? Am I wrong in that assessment?
I don't know if it's going to centralize it, but it's definitely very clear as to know what the target is, right? And this is actually what I was going to say earlier, now that we're on this segue, which is kind of funny. It's as good as Ogre Pond Water is, I don't think it's broken by any means. Am I wrong in saying that? Because I think this Pokemon is very, very beatable. I think there is tons of counterplay to getting around Ogre Pond Water. And unlike some other DLC characters or DLC Pokemon that we've had in the past, Urshifu, not naming names, Urshifu, but like this Pokemon, it is so good, but it is so balanced in my opinion. You can take this thing down, offensive flying coverage, really, really strong versus it. You force it to tear, you have a grass type in the back, it's gone, right? You can take this Pokemon down, but it is still an incredibly strong piece. And I think that's just a definition of a good Pokemon, right? Like, really, really good, can be taken down, not easily, but can be taken down. And it's not like, you don't have to commit too much to beat it, right? It's still, in my opinion, still fairly balanced. Maybe leaning a little bit the other way now, but definitely still pretty takedownable in my opinion. That was not a word.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think like when we talk about Ogre Pond Water and where it falls, I think it falls more towards the side of like an Incineroar or an Amoonguss, as like it's a really good support mon that, or like a Rillaboom, like does damage, but it's like not this overwhelming offense where like, okay, Urshifu is just gonna blow through you, even Fluttermane, right, is just gonna blow through you, stuff like that, where it's like, okay, that really kind of centralizes the meta in the sense of like, there is this nuke in the meta that is just clearing through teams. I need an answer now. Like that is like where I feel like, okay, the meta centralizes around, okay, Blood Moon was the nuke, right? For like
a day and a
week
half
or two, and that was like
A day and a half.
like one regional online tournament. Like it was like, oh my god, this thing is crushing everybody. We need to find answers for it. And then people found answers for it. But like Ogre Pond Water has been since the start of Regulation F, and I think a big thing that made it better is the people stopped using the Swords Dance set and realized that Follow Me was just optimal on it. And it allowed you to play so much more versatile at Mon and so I think that's what really found its like role and found its like, okay, here's how you use like on water. And it's not something that's gonna blow through everything. It's gonna be just a really good like splashable Mon onto any team that fits super well, like an Amoonguss, again, like an Incineroar, like a Rillaboom. That's just a really good support mon that can do damage.
Yep.
Now, when we talk about like, okay, where are we gonna go from here? So we talk about the Raging Bolt, and it's interesting. Look at Toller's team, AV Raging Bolt with like Terra Fairy actually walls like that whole team. Not walls in the sense of like, okay, just the one mon beats it, but if you look at each specific matchup into each mon, I mean, you have a Gholdengo here that doesn't like facing down Raging Bolt. You have Torn, you have an opposing Raging Bolt, Incineroar, Dark, and Ogre Pond Water. I really love facing Terra Fairy Raging Bolt, so I really think that that's something that could be something that came from Knoxville and will continue to be something that is strong moving forward.
AV Raging Bolt is really, really strong. A lot of people, in my opinion, were just trying to set it up early on in the format. You have that access to that Calm Mind, that booster special attack if you wanted it with the booster energy there, right? It is a very good mon, because it has so many different sets. However, we are seeing the emergence of AV right now, and seeing that emergence of AV. And I personally use this into Global Challenge. Are we actually talking Global Challenge today or no? Because, like, we'll get into that maybe
Yeah,
in a
yeah.
bit. We'll get into that in a bit.
Let's
But right now, like, I don't know. AV Raging Bolt does so much. It does everything you want it to do, right? Similar to that Ogre Pond, it's going to be sitting there. It's going to be able to do something, whether or not you're doing damage with Thunderbolt or your Dragon move, or if you're doing maybe an Electro Web. I believe Edu had Electro Web back in Liverpool, right? Or you do Thunderclap and you get your priority moves off, right? Like, there is so much you can do with an AV Raging Bolt, and then you flip the type chart with a Terra Fairy. You're tough to take down, and you get it. Sometimes all you need to do is be alive for that extra 2-3 turns, get a little bit of damage mitigation off, a little bit of damage off, and the rest of your team can clean it up. Especially on something like Toller's team, with something like that Gholdengo, with something like that Urshifu, right? You get the little bit of damage mitigation going down with the Snarls. You get some decent. Toller did have Snarl, right? I'm not like speaking nonsense. Okay, he did. Okay, good.
Yeah.
But right, like you get a little bit of damage, you get a little bit of damage mitigation off, and then you just bring in your Urshifu and your Gholdengo. Maybe pair that with a Tailwind, and those Pokemon, there's not enough defense, not enough health left on your opponent's side to actually deal with that. There's not enough offense left to actually deal with the Gholdengo, right? So stuff like that is really, really cool.
Yep.
I think Raging Bolt with that AV, I think, is just the proper adaptation.
I versed one at the Brooklyn tournament. There was a Brooklyn local, and Darsh was playing an AV Raging Bolt with Roaring Moon and Incineroar and Amoonguss, and he just kept pollen puffing it up, and he was Intimidate, Cycling, and Spore, and I was in the Torture Chamber. And, like, it's that type of, like, I was like, oh, I hope this doesn't pick up, and now to see it win, it's going to pick up. And it's just like, oh, God. It's going to be hard to play against, and then that's why I think more of a centralizing meta, though. Like, we got these big targets at the top. We got some big boys that are gonna be hard to beat at the top of the format right now.
Tommy, you know what's happening right here? You know what's happening right now?
Tell me, school me.
Remember at the beginning of Regulation F, and I said the balance teams are waiting to figure out how balance is gonna play? We are watching balance adapt right now. This is what we are seeing.
Okay.
Balance is finally coming through. People are figuring out what balance is in this format, and you are seeing it right now. We are seeing it unravel in front of our eyes. This is the balance teams unfolding. We've seen it a little bit with the Neil team from Charlotte. I believe a lot of others people have jumped on that as well with the balance and then the Roaring Moon on it, right? We're seeing it here with the AV Raging Bolt, like you said before, AV Raging Bolt with Amoonguss, right? You're seeing these balance teams adapt and finding ways to utilize these pieces in what I would consider still a fairly heavy-hitting meta. I don't think it's a slow meta by any means. Obviously, you can slow it down. We'll get into Avery's team in a bit, I'm sure. But we are seeing balance finally come to the forefront as it normally does in competitive play, right? We see that hyper offense teams, those teams with a big purpose. We're going to hit hard, we're going to hit fast, or we're going to go under trick room, or we're going to hit hard. But then we see balance figure it out. And this is what we're seeing. I think this is a very good time where we're actually starting to see balance figure itself out. And I'm excited. As a balance player, I'm excited.
Yeah.
Can I ask
totally
you guys
agree.
about Gholdengo? I think Gholdengo is in a really good spot too. Like, what? Am I crazy for thinking that after Toller winning? Are we going to see it everywhere?
We're going to see it. And it's one of those ones where you see 1/3 it being immune to 1/3 of the moves in the game, if not more than that.
More.
And it's
more than that.
It's absolutely disgusting because of that. And the one point I'm going to drive home about the fact that how good Gholdengo is, every single team in top 8 and 15 out of 16 of the top 16 had a dark type, and Gholdengo still won the tournament.
Yeah. I was using it this past weekend. I was using it more as an offensive like spec set versus a nasty plot set just because of the team that I was playing. Oh my god, did that thing carry me throughout the entire weekend. Ogerpon plus Gholdengo was so strong, and I was running Terra Fairy, Gholdengo, and I think that's what Toller ended up running. If I'm, let me just double check.
Yes,
I don't
Toller
know.
wasn't
Yep, it was
Fairy,
Terra
yes.
Fairy. Yep, and it's just so good into the Wicked Blow meta. But Make It Rain just hits so much, even if it's a resist. Like if you're running specs, if you're at +2, does that thing just like chunk teams and getting good spread damage down that hits Flutter Mane, hits Urshifu for like hits a lot for neutral, and then even if the resist, like you're getting 50% damage down after +2 or something, or you can click
Yeah.
Data Ball. You're just getting so much damage down and not being able to spore it, right? Not being able to, like go for any like status moves onto it, not being able to taunt it, whatever it is so strong. I think it is something that will I don't think it's gonna pick up in the sense of, oh my God, like this thing is gonna start to dominate. I think there are still a lot of like good checks to it in that, okay, Fun Water, right? Resist, make it rain, you can get the special defense boost, you can do good damage. Raging Bolt, AV Raging Bolt, Gholdengo really doesn't like facing against AV Raging Bolt, has a hard time doing damage against it. But I think just overall, I think it has been being slept on for a while, and I kind of figuring it out as well earlier, like in the last couple of weeks, and I was like, okay, this mon
Yeah.
hard slept on. People don't have the answers for it. Like a lot of people would just lead like Fluttermane, Urshifu is like, okay, on those Blood Moon teams, right? That was like their let me just go for Ice You and make it rain. AO Fluttermane and bring the Urshifu down to Sash, and now you're in such a good spot, right? So it just clears through a lot of teams if you're not prepared. But I do think now that it has one and popped up, I think there's gonna be
Yeah.
more answers to it. I think even like Toller's team, right? Like Incineroar is like one of the best mod. This is the third most used mod. Gholdengo hates facing Incineroar, right? So there's definitely a lot of checks to it, but I think it is a mod that was being slept on for far too long. Definitely will be seeing some more usage.
Very much so agreed. Also, Conk, were you the highest
Yeah,
placing Dozo?
I was the highest placing Dozo. Yep, there was one
So
other in day two, but I want to quickly touch on my run just because I
Yeah,
think it
go for it.
was funny.
I want to touch on your
So
run too. You did amazing.
thank you. Yeah, so I came into this format. So like back in December when this format was announced, I was like, all right, like I think Pound Knight Dozo whatever is gonna be strong early on. So let me try to build something, building the same six very similar sets to the one that Chuppa used at Portland. And so I was like, okay, I'm screwed now. I gotta change it up, for Charlotte. And came the anti-Dozo meta. Like everyone was prepared for Dozo and the Blood Moon Farigiraf, like Pound Knight, like it all like was the worst possible time for me. If when I was going through Charlotte, I was straight up not having a good time. And still ended up going 6-3, still ended up doing well on the PC, but was struggling a little bit. And I had made the Ogerpon Gholdengo adaptation there, but I was Terra Steel, and so the Wicked Blow, like close combats were just still blowing through me. And so I barely had any time to prep for this regional. I was like, okay, I can't go with Terra Steel again, so I gotta go. I'm gonna change it to Terra Fairy, Gholdengo, help my matchup a little bit, just run it back. And the meta can't be worse than it was 2 weeks ago for Dozo, and so I'm gonna try my best. And I run Dozo a little bit differently than everyone else. I run it with speed boosting. I had clear amulet Dozo. Gotta say, this weekend it was still pretty hard to win with Dozo. It was a lot of me playing really well and Ogerpon and Gholdengo just being awesome. I think like I brought Paune in like a couple matchups throughout the weekend, but it was mostly Ogerpon, Gholdengo, Dozo, just um trying
Yeah.
to do my best throughout the team. And there was a lot of close sets, and I faced a lot of good players. And I was really happy to be able to make day two, but I knew that once I got to day two, it was going to be a like really hard challenge because the teams there were like I'd faced James Evans in I think round six when I was 5-0, and he just like that team was so hard for me. Like I had no matchup into it whatsoever, and he just steamrolled me. And then I faced Josh Lorsey. I was able to clutch it out versus him. I faced Luca. I don't want to mispronounce his name, but I think it's
Pause.
Traegut.
Pause. Oh, Traget.
Oh,
No,
Trajan.
Traget.
yeah,
Trajan.
and I faced him in the last round, which, by the way, I gotta say, please stop having lunch breaks at regionals. It makes it the day so long, and
Yeah.
by the end of it, like it
Yeah.
was like 7:30, and I was playing him, and I was so tired and hungry. And I mean, he played super well and just wiped me, but like I was not even playing. Like I knew that like it was kind of over from there where I was not playing well. But in day two, I think like the teams that I was seeing and stuff, like it was I knew that like I came in with a team that didn't feel like the call, and like I just had to play well. But the fact that like Ogerpon Water and Gholdengo, like the mons that we were talking about, were just so good. Like I had some tools that were like so strong, and I want to talk about a little bit that like F dropped off. Like even though it was in the top 12 for usage for day 1 and day 2, like really saw it. It was in one a team on the top 8, and like cleared some room for like okay, some priority spam stuff like that. There's room. A lot of the pieces that I had moving forward, I don't know if Dozo's the call anymore, but I have a lot of time between now and UIC to play on it. But I think like what I learned from this weekend was that like there is I mean obviously insanely good players in this America and obviously in the world, but and I think I can compete with a lot of them. There's still so much that I have to learn, and it's really kind of cool to see that when you like when you're playing day 2 and you see okay like I'm coming close, but like I played like Joe, I played a Living House, and like played a bunch of these guys. I'm like, this is this is a struggle. These are some really strong
Mm-hmm.
players, and they're starting to really figure out like the teams that they're comfortable with, the teams that like they feel really strong with, and figuring out the meta a little bit more. And so that's something where it's like, okay, it's really hard to show up to a regional without any prep, but like without a team you feel strong with and feel like you can win the whole thing. And I feel like it as far as I could with the team that I brought and the prep that I did, but I mean that there's a long way to go of like, okay, if you really want to be serious about like, okay, I want to win a regional, there's a lot more work you got to put into it. And these guys have been doing that, and it was really humbling to see. But
Yeah,
still proud of my run. It's been a little bit
absolutely.
since I've been in day 2, and happy to be back.
How many you made Milwaukee day 2? You made this day 2. How many other day 2s? That's it.
That's it. Every other time I
Yeah.
choked the winning in.
No, you got top 8 at
I choked
Milwaukee
I'm
though,
only at
right? You,
one.
you did
World
get top 8 at Milwaukee, right?
for
Yeah, he top 8 at
Okay.
Milwaukee.
top 8 Milwaukee.
Ryan, how
So
many day
hoping I
2s
can
have you made?
Day 2s? 2.
Or no, you're an OG. I forget how the
I
structure used to
I
work.
only have 2 day 2s because yeah, I know I've been
Yeah.
playing for a while, but like I keep bombing regionals. and yeah, I know y'all are gonna yell at me, okay? And I know y'all are gonna yell at me because I'm gonna tell you my last 4 results, and you're gonna be like, "Oh, you're not bombing. That's fine." But like going 5-4 into 6-3 into 5-4 into 6-3 at the last 4 regionals I've attended feels terrible to me, okay?
Yeah, no.
And I get it. 5-4 and 6-3 are not inherently bad results. And I've been saying this to a lot of players because they're like, "Oh, you're 6-3. Why are you so upset?" It's like I came here to win. And I know that sounds a little bit conceited, but I've done the whole chip away for a Worlds invite twice now. I've been to Worlds twice, fortunately enough, right? And I've chipped away, chipped away, chipped away. I want that big result, you know? I want to get back on that final stage like I was in Vancouver. I want to, you know? I saw a comment the other day, okay? And I was just going, you know how sometimes you go back and watch your old sets? Never do this, by the way. Do not read the comment section. But, like, I saw this one comment on some repost of the video. I don't even remember what the link was. And the one comment was, like, said something about, Abdullah's team, and then the second part of the comment was like, and the other guy played one of the worst sets of Pokemon I've ever seen in my life. I'm like, this is what I'm remembered for. This is what I'm remembered for. So you know,
Whoa.
I'm trying so hard to get back to that final stage, right? But like, it's just one of those ones where 6-3 isn't bad, but to me, it just feels less than what I should be capable of doing, right? So we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
I feel like I have the worst results out of the crew, but I'm the only one of day 2 to an IC, which is weird, right?
yeah, I haven't been to an IC yet, but I will
Yeah.
have UIC. So
I got
Yeah, I've never
unlucky.
We'll see if I-
been to a region.
I got unlucky at NAIC in 2022, the first year we came back after the pandemic.
That's when I first met you.
Yes, when you held the spot line. I got so unlucky, Tommy, in that tournament. I was 4-1. I then played Gio, obviously really good player, as in like Polar Bear, not the one Gio. But anyways, played them, lost game 3 to a miss, and then had to take it to timer. I lost on timer. It was a crazy game, really good set. That's Pokemon, right? I'm gonna miss a move, right? It's whatever. And then after that, I was 4-2. And then won the next round. I lost the next round. I think there was only 8 rounds, I believe, that day. I don't think we ended up hitting 9. I could be. I don't remember. Either way, the details are foggy. Regardless, though, I got incredibly hacked out again in a later set. Got like 98th or something like that. Or I finished 98th. And I needed top 128 for my invite. And I was like, all right, we're going to get our invite again. We're absolutely gaming. We did not hit the kicker for top 128 points. We missed it by like 4 or 5 people.
Oh my god. That is so brutal.
Yeah, so my NAIC
God.
luck has been absolutely horrid. And then obviously I didn't go this year because I had my invite already. But yeah.
Well, okay. First, I wanted to say this before because we were talking about your results, but you said, Vancouver, obviously you're Vancouver finalist, and then you had some results you didn't love, but you want to tell everyone what your next regional is? Say what?
Vancouver. Okay, hold up. Time out a second. Time out a second. Time out 1 second. 1 second. You know what's funny? We talk a lot about like history and storylines, okay? Last season, Vancouver was also the 4th regional after January. So if you look at this, or the 4th regional in the season since we started in January, this year it's going to be the 4th regional after January begins, so of the new year. And the 1st regional, we had Chuppa get 2nd with Dozo. That also happened previous season. The following regional, Wolf won. The following regional this year, Wolf had won. I have no clue what happened at the 3rd one. I haven't looked into that yet. However,
wait, what was it? I was at every regional last year. Was it Charlotte?
So it was.
I don't remember. Sorry, it's 5th regional. My bad. It's the 5th regional. Right, I got that wrong.
Charlotte.
No, Charlotte was the 2nd one, right? Yeah, Charlotte. Yeah, no, I'm dumb. Yeah, I'm right. 4th. Yeah. Anyways, I don't remember what happened at the 3rd last year.
San Diego, Orlando, Charlotte, Knoxville, Vancouver, right?
Yeah, that sounds right. So what happened at Charlotte last year?
Karis won, and then I had him on the
Karis
Tom
won
Hayden
with
show.
what?
The Church of Tusk.
Oh, that's
and
right.
Sam, yeah.
Time out. Karis and Toller used to build together. Guys, it's all lining up.
Yeah. They just built that Iron Crown team together too.
But basically what I'm saying is history is repeating itself, is long story short. We have the 1st regional getting Chuppa getting 2nd with Dozo. The next regional, Wolf winning. The 3rd regional, someone from Karis's building group gets to win. And the 4th regional, I'm getting 4th at 2nd at Vancouver again. It's happening, guys. It's all lining up.
Oh, you're gonna win.
Wait. Okay, I gotta say so. So on the theme of history repeating itself. So Knoxville for me this year was actually kind of eerily similar to Knoxville for me last year. So Knoxville last year was my first regional of the season, or of the year, and Knoxville again my first regional of this year. And both times I started 5-0. And both times in round 2 I faced the same opponent, Alexander Williams. We literally were like we're like at 1-0. We were like, this is insane. What? We faced each other in Knoxville round 2 last year. Started 5-0. Then I get wiped by someone I play a really good player to get to 5-0. So I played Lorsey, I played like Eotem, and I played I forget who else last year. And at 5-0, I get wiped by a good player in round 6, which I did both times. And so in my head, when I was at the tournament, I was like, can't be happening again, because last year I went 5-0 to 6-3, and I was like, this cannot be happening again. But thankfully I was able to change the course of history this time. So I believe in you, Ryan. You're gonna get the
we'll see what happens. You guys don't understand how badly I want to be back on that final stage in Vancouver, but of course that is still a long ways away. We got till the end of March before we got to talk about Vancouver, so definitely a bit of time there. Should we get back into actual results? I feel like we went on a slight tangent.
Oh, we wanted to talk about day 2 and the difference in like our good results versus bad results.
Honestly,
too, right?
that's fine. We're just chilling. We don't need to change course.
Yeah.
No,
we can go wherever we want to go.
Can I ask you guys what went? I want to ask Rachel first.
Yep.
So I know you said you barely had time to prep for this one, but what do you think went right between matchups, or like the right team for the meta, or what do you think went right to help you make the day 2s you've made? And Ryan, I'm gonna ask you the same thing after. Like, I want to hear from you guys on that, because I could tell you what mine was. I felt like I had the right team for the meta at the time, which is a boring answer. But like, what other factors like are there, you think, from your personal experience now being a 2-time day 2er?
Yeah, I think like the biggest thing for me both times, and like So I think there's a couple things that hold me back when I don't make it, and there's like the same theme that happens when I do make it. And so like the biggest thing is I bring comfort. Like when I bring comfort, I like even when like I think both times to Milwaukee and this in Knoxville, I don't think I brought like the call for the meta or anything like that. I thought honestly, I felt like I had like back in Milwaukee, the like balance was figured out. Like that was like the time where it was like at its peak pretty much. Like it was then in NASC and like New Balance was like Gyarados,
Mm.
Ting Lu, like all that stuff that like I hated facing it. Like it was not a good matchup for me, but like I had played in like especially during that time, I had played in a million limitless tours. Like so
Yeah.
many like online tours that I was just so comfortable with the team and I faced the matchup so many times that like it was just a comfort pick for me and like I knew how to play it in ways that like other people weren't ready for.
Yep.
And it was also a time I think where people were like less prepared for so because it had died out because the team comps were so strong into it. And I think the similar thing happened this time where it's like, okay, I brought something that I was comfortable with. This time I didn't really have time to prep for it. But it was just something that I knew like I last time I made it like Milwaukee I had Dozo, Tatsu, and Gholdengo, and this time again I brought Dozo, Tatsu, Gholdengo, and I knew that like those mons I know how to play well, and I had like played some games with Ogerpon, and I knew how to play like I knew how to use my tools, and like I was really strong with Pow Knight back in Regulation E. I knew how to play it, and so like I think like the big thing when you play with a team is like if you have that comfort, you can win a lot more of those mind games, right? Like you know, okay, hey, like this is something that been in this situation a lot of times. I can kind of predict what my opponent play is going to be. You know, like
Yep.
how they're going to set up their end game versus me, and I can kind of capitalize on that. And so I think for me was okay, bringing something that I'm comfortable with and then trying to utilize those tools. And that's what I feel like I did at Charlotte too, where it's like, okay, I brought was comfortable with, but the meta was just so anti-Dozo that like oh like I don't think I should have even gone 6-3 at Charlotte, but because I was comfortable with the team, I was able to make it that far. And the biggest thing that holds me back from making day two when I do is I struggle with like the anxiety, I think, of like getting in my own head or like thinking too far ahead of like, oh my God, I'm at like okay, I'm at 5-0, but to win two more. Like if I lose two more or three, like I'm done. Or like oh this is my winning in, but like and then I start to just like space. I'm like thinking about oh I can make
Mm-hmm.
day two, I can make day two, and then I'm like not in the moment, you know. So there's just so much. Or if like a turn goes badly, I'm like it's all over. Like I'm out and like
The sky is falling.
The sky
Yeah.
is falling.
exactly. And
Yeah.
so like, the biggest thing is like regulating your emotions, and we learned this from Darsh in Charlotte because he made day two in Charlotte obviously in the funniest way possible, Mr. Day 1.5. But honestly, just so funny. But and sorry, side tangent, but the amount of people that came up to me this weekend and thought that the Darsh tweets were hilarious, like
So
they're just
funny.
dying laughing,
So funny.
was I
Okay,
loved
but
it.
real quick, for
Uh,
those of you who do not know, Darsh got his first day two ever in Charlotte. But
No,
then
no, not his first. He's been day
second?
two multiple times last season.
Okay, my bad. But anyways,
Yeah.
Darsh made day two in Charlotte and then partied way too hard on the Saturday night and
yep,
overslept the I guess the alarm or whatever and didn't show up for day two.
yep, hilarious. And so he was texting me to make sure that I didn't do that this time. But yeah, so Darsh was so he kind of took this from him, but at Charlotte he would go in between rounds and he would say hi to everybody and then he would just go off on his own, go upstairs, go like get some fresh air and just listen to his music and get in the right headspace. And I think that was something that I tried this time and it really helped me of okay, you know what? Like because I think there's can be that like love talking to people in between rounds and I love talking to friends. But at the same time you hear like if your round didn't go well, right? Like let's say you're sitting at 1-1, everyone's sitting at 2-0 and you're like dang, like all my friends are doing well. I want to really want to catch, you know, like there's a little bit of that like disappointment in yourself, or like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, like I'm 4-0 and everyone's like hyping you up and stuff like that. And you're like, oh, I got this, like all this pressure, like can also be like a deterrent. So like I think there's a part of it like great to talk with friends and stuff like that. But for you, you got to find out like what's good for you
Yep.
personally. Is it better to just be in that headspace like on your own, or is it be better like is it better for you to be part of that crowd and you just like feel more comfortable with it? What's good for you? So I'm still actively learning what's best for me, but I think that the mental aspect of it is so huge.
Mm-hmm. I agree, and that was going to be my main point here, the mental aspect of it, and just on that exact last point you said, right? You got to find a way to stay in your headspace. If you guys have seen me at an event, and I've been doing well at this event, you will see me walking around at a probably a pretty fast pace around the venue just to keep my adrenaline going, right? And that's what I find works for me. And I know a lot of this sounds really simple, sounds really stupid at times. It's like, get in the right headspace, take it one game at a time. All these things sound so simple, so stupid, but they're simple and they sound stupid and they sound repetitive because they work, right? Find what works for you. I know I've had a few people in the past, they tell me, hey, I chew gum during my rounds because chewing gum allows me to focus in. It's weird, but it works, I've heard that one before. Like I said, for myself, I like to walk around the venue, keep the adrenaline going before rounds, say hi to people, but not get caught up in a conversation for too long and then keep cycling, right? You have other players I know that love listening to music in between rounds, as Conk had mentioned. There are so many different ways to approach this and just making sure you're in the right headspace. But that's 100% my answer to this question, Tommy, is I find when I am making day 2, I am in that headspace from the get-go. When I'm not in that headspace from the get-go, I fall too far back for me to be able to pull it out, right? For like let's just take Charlotte for example, right? I started pretty mediocre. I mean, I had an unfortunate disconnect versus Brady Smith in round 2 at the 1-0 tables, which really kind of took me out of that headspace. Once again, my own fault for taking me out of that headspace. But then I went down to 2-2, and like at that point, there is 4 more rounds of Pokemon. You're gonna get unlucky at some point. And unfortunately, at the 5-2 tables, I got unlucky, right? So for me, when I'm dialed in from the get-go, and I don't let myself get to that X2 tables early, I tend to have a better result because I'm dialed in, right? But sometimes and oftentimes, I find myself, I'm not dialed in right away, and I don't know what I need to do to dial in immediately. If I can find that, that's really what I'm looking for. Because Vancouver, I was just dialed in. It was a different. You ever feel yourself playing? And like I had one of these clips on stream the other day. You ever just make a call in a game and just feel like an absolute legend? Like I made a call the other day. I don't even remember. It was just best of 1 on ladder, and the opponent leads something, and I look at it and I'm like, this guy's clicking protect this turn, parting shot with the Incineroar, and he's going to belly drum the following turn. He didn't get the parting shot, but he protected. No, he couldn't parting shot because I faked out the Incineroar. So I hard ignore the belly drum Iron Hands that I'm hard calling is going to be belly drum. I go fake out Ivy Cudgel into the Incin, get the 50% because I was at -1. The Iron Hands does indeed protect. The next turn I'm going to watch, I'm going to kill the Incin with a Cudgel, and I'm going to burn him on the belly drum turn. So I click Ivy Cudgel, kill the Incin, Will-O-Wisp, and I burn the hands, and then he clicks belly drum. But like, if I can be dialed in immediately, that was a little bit of a side tangent, but when you get dialed in immediately, for me, it's like when you're in that headspace, it's a whole different game. Like it's an entirely different game, which sounds crazy, but when you're locked in compared to not locked in, it's weird. Okay, this is gonna sound. I'm gonna sound insane when I say this. Okay, do you ever just start? When I'm not locked in, I have a tendency to realize that I'm not locked in, and my brain will start telling me that, hey, you're not playing well right now. But instead of actually fixing it, my brain will just be like, hey, you're not playing right now. And every other turn, it's just like, nah, you suck. You suck. And every other turn, it's just like, I can't get back. Like, I realize I'm not playing well, but it's like, I'm like, not like in the zone enough to actually dial back in. So I'm just stuck sitting here watching myself be like, oh, why did I make that play? I know I can't make that play.
I'll hover over the right move. Like, I'm expecting a rock slide. I'll hover over wide guard. Be like, no, I get punished if they do this. Like, is it worth getting punished for, you know what? I know they're going to click rock slide. It's too obvious. I think they're going to do something else. I get punished too hard. And then all in my head, I'm running out of time. I click. And then, meanwhile, the play that my gut told me, the first play I was thinking of, ends up being the right play.
Yeah.
And that's when I'm like, oh, I'm in my head too much. How do I get out of this? For me, I personally go outside to get some fresh air. I hit a pen or something. I'm like, let me get out of this. Let me just try to reset, mental reset, you know? Mm-hmm. And it's not easy. But, like, when you're locked in versus when you're not locked in, it's entirely True, Ryan. And I wish I could get there without substances helping me sometimes, you know? But, like, I do like to go outside and hit a pen or something. Like, one of those vapes helps me
I,
a lot. And I know I'm different than most players.
You know what
yeah.
helps me? But anyways, go on, guys. It looks like you were gonna say something. So say something. I'll jump in after that.
I want to just hop in with two things. So on the first, on like the why, like how you're saying, like just going with what your gut tells you. I think like one of the biggest things that helped me fundamentally improve as a player and like improve at events and like something that I still like work on to this day is never want to leave a regional with regrets. I
Yeah.
want to leave with, hey, I should like I knew that this was the play and I didn't make that play. Either make the play that my gut tells me that like, hey, you know what, a risky play, but I think it's the right play. And if it doesn't work out, work out. But there was too many times earlier on where I would just be think they're gonna do this, but like the safer play is to do this, and then I would get punished.
Yeah.
That would happen too many times. I was leaving, I was like, I could have two if I just made the plays that I knew in my head. And so like this regional particular, like there was maybe one round against Luca where like it's just way too out of it. But like other than that, like I played like there was no moves, no plays that I regretted throughout the entire tournament where I was like, okay, I felt like I was making the plays that my gut told me to make, and if they play better, or if they just make a different play, that's gonna happen. You're not gonna get every turn right, but at least I went with what I felt was the right play.
Yeah.
And like that was something that was big for me that like helped me improve a lot. Other thing is don't ever like make sure you never get to a point where you're hangry. I think like
Yes.
staying like eating food like that's a big thing for me,
Hmm.
especially like if there's like a late lunch break or something like that and you're waiting or something like that, or just like it gets later in the day and like you like post lunch it's like maybe like 4 or 5 p.m. and like you haven't eaten like a few hours and you start to get hungry, like affect your headspace and your like affects me a lot. So like I make sure that like okay, you know what? I'm eating every so often. Otherwise, I will start to play like if I because then it gets really easy for me to get tilted. Where I'm like, okay, a play didn't work out. I'm hungry. I'm annoyed.
Yep.
Oh, it's gonna start to go south really quick. So
No.
I don't
Yep.
know
there's
how
a
to
couple other.
find it. There's a Twitter thread from my 10-4 run at NAIC where day one I just kept tweeting about what I was eating between rounds. And I probably ate like a full breakfast between every round because I was playing Trick Room. So it was like my games were over super quick.
Yeah.
And it was a huge
Yeah.
tournament. I was like, all right, I ate a yogurt between this round. I had a fruit cup between
Yeah.
this round. I had a butter roll. I have a Subway sandwich. I had this. I
Yeah.
had a that.
Yep.
And it was just getting ridiculous. But then I was like, wait, I'm staying hydrated. I am eating a lot. Like,
Hmm.
I'm on my game. And it ended up being my best result ever.
Yeah.
And you got to
Yeah.
channel that somehow.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard to focus in on that. And I was like, how can I chime in on this conversation? I was counting my regionals. I've been to 16 regionals, which is kind of crazy.
Tom, you know what's
I
crazy?
went to
You've been to more regionals than me.
I went to 11 last season. I went to San Diego, Orlando, Knoxville, Charlotte, EUIC, Portland, Hartford, Milwaukee, Fresno. I'm counting Puerto Rico and NAIC.
Crazy. That is
Yeah.
wild.
And then I went to
That is
4
wild.
my first season, the Indy, New Jersey, NAIC, London Open. And then I went to
Yeah.
Pittsburgh this season. And I'm going to Los Angeles. So Los Angeles will be my 17th. And like I've
Wow.
only had one regional since I've made a day two. NAIC was my first day two, and then I went to Pittsburgh. I'm not counting Worlds as a regional, right?
No, you can't. You absolutely cannot. The 1-2 tables
Yeah.
at Worlds were Francesco Pardini, Wolf Glick, Eduardo Cunha, and Aaron Trailer. We can't count that as a
Yeah.
regional.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So like I can't wait for Los Angeles. I really want to do well, but like channeling that like energy though is super important, and like eating a lot is super important. And there's so many little things. Sleeping well, super important. Dude, actually NAIC, my best result ever was on the best night of sleep because I thought I took so much pressure off myself. I stayed up way too late the night before the flight. I was on. I helped our shout out friend of the program Bruno. I was testing with him with Hariyama and Oranguru, and I went like 21-3 with his team on ladder. I said, wait, this might work on my team. I put him on my team. I call Katori. I call Darsh. I get him in a group chat, and I say, guys, can you help me go through matchups real quick? 4 in the morning, I go to sleep. 6 in the morning, my alarm goes off to get on the flight. I'm like exhausted. I'm delirious. I can't drive. I wake my brother up. I say, dude, I need your help right now. Can you drive me to the airport? He said, what's wrong with you? I said, I stayed up too late practicing Pokemon. The big tournament in Ohio I've been telling you about. Like, I need you right now. He's like, give me 20 minutes. So, like, he wakes up, he gets up, he drives me to the airport. I get off the flight, we land early, and I go right to a PC, and I won the PC. And because I won the PC, I only needed top 128 and not top 256 at NAIC. I took so much pressure off myself. I felt like I slept like a baby. Then we didn't even hit the kicker, like Ryan mentioned earlier. Like, we didn't even hit the kicker for 256. So I still would have needed 128 no matter what. I found out the next morning. But I slept like a baby. And, like, having a good night's sleep, eating well, there's so many different factors that you don't think about until you're in the moment.
And
until you're there.
Not only are there so many factors, it's everybody is different as well, because as you're saying that you have your best runs when you actually get sleep. If you actually look historically at my runs, some of them are off my worst nights of sleep ever. Like Fort Wayne, I had less than an hour's worth of sleep total the night before the event, and I ended up making day 2, right? Vancouver, I think I got maximum 4 hours, right? And then for Toronto this year, I actually slept in my own bed because obviously local, but 8 hours of sleep the night before the regional. And I was like, I feel so good going into this regional. I went 5-4. Granted, some other things happened at Toronto, that like 8 trick room matches that I played. Like, there were other factors there, right? So like, once again, there's so many different factors, so many different ways to look at it. Do I think I play better on lack of sleep? Absolutely not. But historically, it's funny to look at, right? Because I do think I was playing really, really well in Toronto. But besides the point, go ahead.
No, wait. I want to hear what you have to say. Besides the point.
No, besides the point, the one thing that we haven't actually talked about this yet is we're talking a lot about things you can do to get back into a mental state. And there's one point that we haven't really brought up that I'm gonna bring up in a second. But just really quickly on the eating food point, don't just eat for the sake of eating, because then you're gonna feel awful too. Like if you're not hungry, don't eat. Like, don't.
Well, no. Force yourself to have a little something for energy.
Of course.
If you don't have an appetite,
I'm not saying just don't go have like 4 burgers at like
I would say Tommy told me to eat 3 Subway sandwiches,
you know,
because he did it.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to be clear that we're not saying, you know, because I'm sure there's gonna be somebody, because I could definitely see this at the next event, just somebody packing back burgers in between rounds. The Chilling Neigh said I need to eat between rounds. Right? Like, I could definitely see a misunderstanding there. So I wanted to clear that up, right? You guys know your bodies. You guys know what you're comfortable with. But definitely it is super important to stay hydrated and to, of course, stay fed as well. But more importantly, this last thing I want to talk about is you guys are not alone at these events. We all have friends. Yeah. And
community.
Half of the runs that I have success with, they're at some point during the day, I can point out one person, if not a few people, that have come up to me and completely helped me reset my mental. If you are looking at Orlando in the first regional back, Orlando in, my first regional back, but Orlando last season, right? I started 0-2. And keep in mind, this was the 10-round regional. And me and my buddy Charlie Solchuk, shout out to Charlie, he's awesome.
I loved him.
But we built this team, and we're like, okay, yeah, one of us can 100% win this event. We were so ready for this event. And to start 0-2, I was so done. I was so ready. I was on my way out. I wasn't going to drop, but I was so done. I was leaving the venue, and I ran into him somehow. I don't remember why. I don't know if I was looking for him or if he was looking for me. Either way, found into him, and if it wasn't for that talk that I had with Charlie right there, my mental was gone. I pulled that regional back and I finished 7-3 from 0-2.
Let's go.
Right? Got 127th place for points.
Wow.
But it's, you know, and then if you look in Vancouver, I started day 2 at Vancouver 1-2. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm pretty much done here. I don't think I can actually like come back from this. I was out of it. And then I run into Devin, and Devin's like, hey, you got this reset, and basically helped me reset my mental, right? Basically, long story short, what I'm trying to say is, guys, you don't have to reset. You don't have to stay in this mindset alone. You have friends. They're there. We can help each other out, right? Like, obviously, once again, it's going to work differently for everybody. Sometimes it is better just to be alone and to reset, but other times you need that hey, bro, you're good. You need someone to just gas you up real quick, right? Like, different things are going to work for everybody. I definitely didn't want to forget about touching on the point that there's other people there. You know, you're there with friends. Pokemon is a social game. Have some fun with friends. Let them help you, you know? Help them.
And even if you're not doing well, be that rock and be that support for your friends. Because I can't tell you how many times I've lost my third round. Like, I lost my third match in round 5 or 6. And I'm like, let me just stick it out and try to get out, you know, win points. And let me just be there for my friends who are doing well.
You know what?
Because, you know,
Go ahead.
It's really important to be there. It really is.
It is. You know what I find helps, or what I notice when that happens, is when you are out, you get sad for like, I don't know, maybe the entirety before the next round. But then after that, you're like, I'm out. It's okay, you know, and you get over it in the moment. And then if your friends are doing well, you feed off of your friends that are doing well. You start going over, and your regional run changes from, oh, you know, I'm not going to cut this anymore, but I'm going to help my friends. I'm going to make sure they cut. I'm going to maybe get some CP out of this weekend still, right? I'm going to make sure that, you know, I'm still helping somebody else. I'm going to make sure this weekend's not for naught, right? Like, you get over the fact that you're out. I don't want to say fairly quickly, but while you're at the tournament, if you are surrounded by other people that are doing well, hey, it sucks when you're out because they're all doing well and you're out. But there's some sort of secondary switch that goes off, at least in my mind, that's like, hold on a second, they're popping off. Let's go help. Let's go make sure they keep going. You know, let's make sure they keep going.
I want to talk about Milwaukee and Conkledonk. You. When I say Conkle, you say Donk. Conkle, Donk. And I 2-4 dropped that regional.
Yeah.
I had so much fun hanging out with you and supporting you. So after my 4th loss, my opponent goes, "Are you gonna play it out?" I said, "Hell no! I'm going to see Spider-Man Spider-Verse." And I dropped and saw Spider-Man. And Bruno actually was at the 2-4 table. Was like, "Wait, can I come with you?" And that's where me and him became friends. And sometimes it's just not your day. I brought Wochen to that regional, and then after that, I said, "I'm not bringing anything that's not Psy Spam again." And I made it to Worlds bringing Psy Spam. I was like, I knew my comfort. I knew my, you know, I was like, I can't let this 2-4 drop happen again. Like, it affected my mental so much. I hit a mental reset for the rest of the season. And sometimes you just need that, though, you know?
Yep.
Yeah. And I think, like, another thing is, like, not making it so, like kind of jumping off your guys' point is, like, don't go into the weekend saying, like, what your tournament result is going to be, like, that's going to be your mood for the whole weekend, right? Like, don't put all the pressure on, like, hey, like, if I don't day 2, like, this was a waste of a weekend. Like, you're having, like, something that you're going for that you're having fun with, right? Like, you have friends that you're meeting up with, or, like, there's, like, something else that you want to do in that city, something giving you, like, okay, hey, you know what? I'm going to have fun regardless of what happens. And then if day 2 happens, that's, like, cherry on top. Obviously, I came here to play and I really want to play day 2, but, like, if I can't make day 2, like, this happened for me at Charlotte and stuff like that, where it's like we were just so happy for Darsh that, like, he made day 2. We were a little too happy for him, and we Airbnb got crazy. But we having, like, that was honestly one of my favorite regionals ever because I was just surrounded by like some really close friends and we were having such a fun time. So, like, really, like, going in with, like, if you could take off any pressure from yourself, it helps you so much.
Can I kidnap the conversation again?
Yeah.
I've had 3 win-and-ins. I am 1 win and 2 losses in my win-and-ins today too. I'm so proud of that 1 win. I'm so happy that it was my most recent win-and-in. But can you guys touch on your win-and-ins and how many you've had and what's your record in them? Because they are such a unique situation at these regionals. And I'm sorry to put you on the spot. I see both of you got the thumbs to the lip. So immediately both of you started thinking.
I can jump in here. I mean, for me, I can't give you guys a record. I've been playing this game for so long. But for me, it's realizing that I've been in these scenarios before and it's just another game of Pokemon, right? That to me is eliminate the fact that it's a win-in from your mind. And I obviously, way easier said than done. Don't get me wrong.
Yes.
Right?
It's like, a lot of pressure in the moment.
It's in the back of your head, right? It is in the back of your head. Absolutely no way it's not going to be in the back of your head. But you have to find a way to focus on the game at hand. And I say this constantly, whether you're at the O2 tables, the X1 tables, don't start thinking, oh, I need 5 more wins to make day 2, or in this case, in the win-in, you can't start thinking, I need to win this to advance. You go in, you play the game, and as Conk said, play the game with no regrets, right? Play your game, see what happens. You know how to play this game. You're there for a reason, just like your opponent is there for a reason. And you see what happens. You see if you can make it happen. And I find a lot that actually does help is locals. And I know locals don't actually like can't simulate that regional experience of being at the 6-2 tables needing to play a win and in. But at locals, there are a lot of times when since there's so many more opportunities to be at a win and in. Like I've had numerous win and ins at locals. Like and I'm talking numerous, right? And being in that spot and taking that spot in locals seriously, having meaningful sets at locals helps a ton when you have to now translate this to the bigger event because you have that experience. You know what it feels like to be in that stressful situation. So when I'm at a local, yes, I'm taking it sometimes a little bit less seriously because I'm maybe having a little bit of a fun team. But anytime I'm at a win and in at a local, I am always 100% trying to lock in and playing that win and in. That win and in experience is so valuable for when you get that win and in at the bigger event. You need to have that experience and you need to know how to handle any sort of pressure or anything like that. So taking every time you're going to win it, whether it's an online tour, anything like that, I am taking seriously. So that way at the win and at the regional, I know what's happening. I know exactly how my body's going to try and react. And I know exactly how to refocus onto the game.
No, and I'm noticing I've actually had 4 win and ins because I lost my first one at NAIC. I started 6-1.
Yeah.
So I played Casty for a win and in to day 2 before I played Eli Knowlton for the win and in at the 6-2 table. And it's just like, it's a lot of stress.
It is.
And then like having 2 at one tournament was very unique for me after starting 6-1, I'm remembering too. Because it's like, oh, I have 2 shots.
Yeah.
I have 2 chances to win and in right now. I want to get it on the first one though.
Yeah.
And then like, Ryan, what you're talking about, taking that pressure off, like, the pressure felt like it was on for the second one. You know, it was just like...
I get you. You got to know how your body reacts. That's my big thing. Know how your body reacts because nerves are normal. In fact, I would think it's messed up if you go into a win and not be the slightest bit nervous. I would think that's completely unnatural. If someone told me I am not nervous for this win in, I would probably look at them twice and make them rethink that statement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
do you care? Like... Nerves are normal, especially when you care about the game, and especially when you care about the game as much as I care about this game, maybe a little bit too much, right? But nerves are normal, but you got to use the nerves to be able to channel in instead of using the nerves or letting the nerves overtake your ability to channel in, right? And that's the way I look at that. Anyways, Conk, what are your thoughts on this?
I want to hear how many win-ins you've had, Conk. Yes.
I think I'm 2 and if I've counted correctly, I think I'm 2 and 3 in win-ins. I had 6-1 at Hartford last year, and then Blue.
So you had 2.
So I had 2. I got like blown out by Lorsey because he just had he had Hayes, Murkrow, and Sunny Day Sun team. So I was playing Dozo. It was just over. And then the last round I disassociated. Like it was like I was watching someone else play like for me, and I was just playing poorly. Like that's what was happening. It's like I was. Is this play it was so weird? I was making plays out of
Cup. It's like you're watching it, but you're watching someone else playing. You're like, click this button, and then it just clicks the other button. It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, it was so weird, and it was the first time I had been in that situation where because I had been that season I'd been 5-0 at Knoxville, but then I went 5-0 to 5-3 to 6-3, so I didn't get a win in there, and then I was 6-3 at Vancouver, but I didn't think I have a win in there. So that was my first win-in situation, and it was new to me. And people ask me why I grind limitless tours as much as I do and stuff like that, and locals and stuff like that. It's to get you for me, I prefer that over showdown because there's no pressure on showdown. It's whatever happens, who cares, right? But limitless tours, there's a little bit of okay, I'm in a tournament, I want to play, I want to top cut, I want to win this tournament, right? There is that pressure of okay, it's obviously not as much as a regional, but it's something, right? Yep. And then same with locals, it's something. And so that was the first time I've been in that situation, and it helped me grow. And so Milwaukee came around, and I was 0-1 to 8-1, so I ended up in winning my win-in early.
Yeah.
Oh, Conk froze.
Less pressure.
Hold up. Conk froze.
Earlier, so I was but then I went to Worlds, and then
Conk, hold up a second.
I went to Worlds.
Conk, hold up. Restart. Go back to Milwaukee. Go back to the 0-1 to 8-1. You froze there on us.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I went 0-1 to 8-1, and so I got my win in a little bit earlier where I was 6-1, and so I had another opportunity of okay, I've got 2 shots at it. Yes. This one I felt okay, you know what, I felt better because I'd been in that situation before, and so I was okay, I know what to do. You know, I know to hey, just play like you play. Like don't have that like situation again where you're like just watching someone else play
Yeah.
that doesn't know how to do it, you know? And so that went well, but then Worlds came around and it was like, okay,
You had to win
I've
it at
never
Worlds.
had a win in at Worlds. I started 3
Yeah.
0 and then I went to 4-2 and I had a win at Worlds and then I won game 1, lost game 2 and then I started out game 3 amazing, but then I'd never been into winning like I was like I'm about to make day 2 Worlds, like that's crazy.
Yep.
And then I started to throw and then like I was like who is this player playing? Like and so I had never been in that situation before and so like okay, it went poorly again. And so and then I had my win in this past weekend at 6-1 and I was like, okay, you know what, lock in. You know what, like you've been in this like I've been in this situation before at regionals, you know, and know what to do and like I've been in this situation at a higher stage than this at Worlds, so like I know what not to do in that situation. So I was able to lock in a little bit. So I think like unfortunately like sometimes it's just that experience and sometimes that pain that like lets like fuels you. You know, like okay, I've been in this situation and it's gone poorly before. I know what not to do. I know how to avoid that. Like I am gonna get this right this time, you know? And
Yeah.
sometimes it takes a couple tries to get there. Sometimes it, you know, you get on your first try. It's different for everybody, but I think like the biggest thing is like don't give up. Don't say, hey, like I'm
Never
always
give up.
6'3", I'm gonna be always 6'3". Like
Yep.
I think a story that everyone was happy to see this past weekend is like Marcos, like
Yep.
Moxie boosted, right? He had been going 6-3 at like every regional he
Yep.
had gone to. He was very consistently 6-3 for the most part. Like he had been so close to day 2 several times, and like seeing him get it this time and then doing well in day 2, like it was just awesome to see. And like gave up, right? Like he never was like, okay, in the towel, I'm 6-2 again, but it never happens for me. You know, like he was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna get it this
I got
time.
it.
I'm gonna get it this time. You know, and he got it, and
Yep.
that was just awesome to see. So never like like never putting yourself in that situation before you've even played it out. You know, like never say, hey, you know, it's over. Like always have that confidence, but never have that, hey, I'm already in day 2. No, you have to get there.
That
You know, you have to earn it. So it's always that.
I made the mistake of doing that in 20. It was September 28 or September October 2018, but it was for the 2019 circuit, right? And this was Atlantic City Regionals, and this
I
was
want that to go back so
round
bad as a gambler.
round 7, which was back then in the day. Round 7 was the last round. So I
Yeah.
am 5-1. And now this is off of coming after I beat Aaron Trailer that day. I beat Chuppa that day, right? And round 7, we sit down, look at the pairings, Paul Chua. And I got so in my head about having to play Paul Chua that I let myself lose before the match even began. I made so many mistakes just because I was so concerned that, oh, Paul is on the other end, right? And I just
Yep.
let myself lose the match before it started. I still got top 16, which is still obviously a very good result, but like to think if I just didn't
Right.
let myself overthink, right? Who knows, right? The game goes entirely different. I'm not saying I cut that regional if I sit down, but like with a little bit of a better mentality, who knows what happens, right? And you just cannot take yourself out of it before the game begins, regardless of who you're playing. Yes, you have to consider who you're playing a tiny bit. Like if I sit down round 1 and I don't know my opponent, you know, I'm gonna play that game 1, and I'm gonna probably play it maybe a little bit safer, make the safer plays until like they start making reads or something like that, right? But if I sit down round 1 and I'm playing Joe, I'm gonna have to consider the fact that yeah, I'm playing Joe right now. You know, that whole normal plan isn't necessarily may not work out because Joe I know is an incredibly strong player, right? Like, I'm not saying you have to play like that, but when I'm playing Joe, I know Joe is gonna be making good plays more often than not, right? When I play somebody else round 1 that I don't necessarily know of, it's tough to confirm if they're going to be making good plays all the time, right? Now, granted, generally speaking, they probably will, but you never know, right? Like, who knows?
What was your biggest example of that? I had a guy lead Intimidate user into my Annihilate, and then he snarled turn 1 both games. And I had to explain, like, so Defiant and Rage Fist.
They stack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is how it works, man. Like, good luck. If you see another Annihilate, please don't do that.
Yeah.
But, like, it happens sometimes
No,
where you
it,
just
it,
get
it
someone who
absolutely
know what
does.
they're doing.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's just Pokemon. The game is so big, there's so many small, minute things you can miss as well, right? Like, you can play incredibly well, be a really good player, and just not know, like, one minute interaction. But that one minute interaction, like you said, might just pop up there, right? Like, you don't know, right? Like, maybe you see a safety goggles, but for a second you just kind of tune out and you don't remember. Like
Dude, I got an example of that.
my flow.
It was
Go
a
ahead.
draft league. It was a draft league. I forgot G-Max Rillaboom Woodhammer, like the G-Max Rillaboom thing went through Sapsipper.
Yeah.
I ended up losing
Yeah.
the draft league match
Yeah.
to Jamie Boyd. And in his YouTube commentary, he's like, does this guy not know?
Yeah.
Like, why is he not ending
Right.
the game here? He can end the game here. Why
Right.
is it? And like slowly
Yeah.
me choking the game in his commentary. And Jamie Boyd's a great auditor. He's great at speaking. So
Yes.
him talking through how I'm choking the game was so brutal to hear back too. But it's just like it happens. Like those details
Those
that you can
minor
miss.
details, you know, you forget sometimes, right? So there's just in a game like this with so much variance and so many different things. Like I'm gonna be honest, if I walked to a regional and I saw someone with punching glove Urshifu, am I gonna know what a punching glove does? Probably not.
You can
Be
protect in
honest
front of it,
with you.
right?
Yeah.
I think you can protect in front of it, and then it
Yeah.
stops Rocky
Like-
Helmet.
It's one of those
Yeah.
two, but is it? I don't know, or is it the other glove that does that? I don't remember, right? Like there are minute things that I don't know, right? So like it's okay to not know things, but as I'm saying, you never know what your opponent's gonna do. But when you're playing somebody like that's a notable name, you have a tendency to be like, yeah, they're probably gonna know what's going on here, right? Whereas it's a little bit tougher
Yeah.
to say that about someone that you just met round one immediately, right? You just don't know, right? And
Yeah. Yeah. The biggest thing is like, yeah, don't lose the match before you've even played it. You know, like don't get defeated in your head before you've even played it out. So, yeah, that's a big one. But we ran a little bit long today, but I
Yep.
think we had some great conversation on all this. I think
love
this is
this episode.
this was a good
This
episode.
is one of my
favorite
Our
episodes.
longest episode yet. Crazy. Let's make it
Our
longer. Let's go.
longest
Go.
yeah. But we didn't get to talk any global challenge, unfortunately. But
That's a good thing. Save
uh,
everybody's sanity.
let's on the last note, what was the craziest team you faced in global challenge, or the craziest thing you saw in global challenge, and then we'll kind of wrap
I
it up.
had a very successful, ungimmicky run in the global challenge. I'm
That's
gonna
good.
be honest. I don't remember too much things that I was like, wow, I'm really getting global challenged here. So like,
Yeah.
that was pretty good. Obviously, I had a pretty good run. I went 20-3, but like, it's
Hype.
I definitely do not remember. Like I played Vikavolt and what looked to be like maybe it was an in-game team, but like there was no like I didn't
Yeah.
really pull like any sort of craziest strategies. I heard a lot of people though suffered lost to Scarf Fluttermane.
Our Fluttermane. Interesting. I didn't see that, but
And
that is.
I
that is
think it's
interesting.
kind of heat. The more I think about it, the more heat it is because a lot of people have Scarf Urshifu. They see a Fluttermane, the booster doesn't proc, right? They're like, oh, I'm faster than this Fluttermane, and then they just drop
cool.
him.
That is cool. That is really cool.
So keep that in mind
I
for
love
Global
that.
Challenge number 2.
Oh,
I
um,
think.
yeah. What do you see?
Or go ahead. Go tell me.
No, I would say, what do you see? What do you see?
Okay, so first of all, having a global challenge during a regional, exhausting. Like I played like 20 games, I think, total, and like we're at the airport when I was leaving. Some of that, like,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get very far. I think I got 5 points, so I'll take it. That's what I needed really anyway. But I faced what was funny was so I was just using my Knoxville team. I was way too lazy.
yeah.
I was like, I don't have
Absolutely.
time to like cook something up. But there's no Ofamezi, like
Yep.
yeah, so I think he's on stream this weekend. But I ended up queuing
Okay.
up to him. Like I was playing like at night, like the night of day one, and I ended up queuing into him. I didn't even realize until I talked to him day two, but he was running like Oranguru Golem, and I didn't know that Golem got wide guard, and so that was like messing me up. And I didn't even know it was him, so I was like, "What is this rando doing?" I ended up winning because I made a play because I just didn't even know like what Golem does. Like I was like, I don't know what's happening here. But that was probably the most like the craziest thing that I ended up seeing. I didn't run into any
Well,
explosion metagross or anything like that, which I was happy with. So
that's what I was gonna say. Maybe I didn't do well enough. I kind of choked the bed. I built a team with my buddy Katori while he was on his break. I said I want to do something with Tinglu, gouging fire. I want to do some Howl shenanigans. I think Rillaboom and Grassy Glide Ogerpon Water are good together. Like because Grassy Glide Ogerpon Water will catch people off guard. It's especially if I get a Howl boost the turn before, then I could pick up a priority KO by switching in Rillaboom. And I choked the bed. There was a big old turd in the bed after I was done. I was like, I think I finished at like 1,500 and something. Like I think I brought it back to 15 after being below 15 for a while. And I wanted to speak on Mezzi's clip because I saw he was taking away Eviolites. So what happened was his symbiosis would go
Yeah.
through, and
Oh
then the
yeah.
Porygon 2 would trace it. And then when he posted that clip on Twitter, I couldn't stop laughing.
That's
Because then
crazy.
trace symbiosis, booster energy, Raging Bolt went off, the
And then the
Eviolite
trace.
goes to
Oh,
the
that's
Raging Bolt.
wild.
And then
The turn
Porygon
one,
2 no
yeah,
longer
turn
is
one.
as bulky.
He led Fluttermane, Oranguru, and like turn one was just booster speed, Fluttermane, and then symbiosis the specs to Fluttermane, and so I
Yeah,
was like, what? Like immediately, I was like, what is happening
Yeah.
right now?
that's so much
It
fun.
was, yeah, it looked cool. It looked like a cool team.
Maybe I
But
got an idea. Maybe we'll do like little quick hits, like little quick get people to send us videos of their GC team, and we'll try to do little quick
I think
shorts of
someone's
that.
doing that on Twitter. I think
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
is it Banded? Yeah, is doing
Oh, I
that
love
on.
Zabanded.
Yeah, yeah.
They got the
But
Corsola Cove thing. They've written about me in the Christmas store before. Shout out those guys.
yeah.
But yeah, I actually
All right.
I
Well,
gotta start making moves. I got a job interview soon.
Yep.
yeah. I was gonna say we
We
gotta
do
wrap
have
this up,
to
but
end here
everyone,
because Tommy is too good for it. No.
I'm a diva. Yeah, no, I'm a scheduling diva. Ask these guys in the chat. Scheduling is very funny. I'm like, I'm available this time
To be-
and this time,
to be-
and I apologize that my schedule.
To be fair, this time it's on me, but we don't need to worry about that right now. The people don't need to know that.
we're good. We're good. Well, hope everyone really enjoys our longest episode ever. But I had
Oh,
so
yeah.
much fun recording this one. I think this was just some great discussion, and I really hope at least someone, if someone learns one thing from this and helps them make day two, that
Exactly.
success. This was a success. So,
Comment,
oh,
like the YouTube, comment, anything. Comment your favorite animal. I don't care what you comment. Just comment something to help engagement. Comment your favorite Pokemon. Comment some stupid. Just comment
comment
something.
your favorite. Comment if you've made day two or you've been close to day two. Make comment on your story or comment on your best regional run. I'm curious to see what people
If you're
have
still
done.
listening to this, you obviously like us.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be listening to this right now if you didn't like the episode. It's our longest one yet. So like, I'm speaking to you and you alone, whoever's listening. Like,
Comment
help
on
us
the
out.
Raichu
Come
on my hat. Put hashtag Raichu down below.
Yeah.
If you're watching
All
on
right,
YouTube,
you
if you're just listening on like a Spotify or something, then just pretend
And
to
you made it
comment.
this far. Thank you.
tweet at us. All right, well, that's it for us. One of my favorite episodes ever. That is it from us. So hope everyone enjoyed to listen to all this, and we will catch you again in 2 weeks. Bye, everyone.
See ya.
Love you.